I don't think I know any parents who don't want a child who can be flexible and or able to go with the flow when it comes to their sleep. And as I mentioned in episode 79, this was absolutely our hope when we had our first daughter. But we went about it all wrong. Today I want to answer the very common question that I get asked. How can I make my child more flexible when it comes to their sleep? Hi, I'm Allison Edgety, a pediatric sleep and wellness coach and a mom of two. I love to help parents find solutions. This is How Long Till Bedtime. When parents ask me the question about making their child more flexible as it relates to their sleep, I always have to ask them some additional questions to get clarity. What would it look like for them to have a child more flexible? They usually say something along these lines. We want to be able to go out to dinner from time to time, which would mean our child would go to bed later than their typical or ideal bedtime. Or on the weekends, we don't want to feel like we need to be home for every single nap. Or I have an older child who has activities, so I need my child to be able to do some of their naps on the go. My child is going to start daycare where sleep conditions and timing won't be perfect, so I want to make sure that they are more flexible with their sleep. Before I answer the question about how to help your child be, quote, more flexible, I need to answer a different question. The question is, can we as parents actually determine if our child is flexible when it comes to sleep? The short answer is no. But don't tune out just yet because I'm going to explain and then I'm going to share what you can do to maximize your child's personal flexibility. Let's start with the somewhat depressing news that I don't think all children can be made to be flexible in the sleep department. Some children definitely are naturally more flexible when it comes to sleep, but some typically, but not always, but typically the more sensitive little ones or I should say the babies who were less naturally inclined to sleep, they are often the ones that are going to struggle with inconsistent schedules, naps on the go, naps at daycare, later bedtimes, etc. I personally have children on opposite ends of the spectrum. One child who is highly sensitive and for years was not what I would call flexible, and the other is flexible in the sleep department and has always bounced back quickly and more easily. If you've been around for a while, I bet you can guess that Addison was my less flexible sleeper when she was a young child, and Ainsley was more flexible. For many years, Addison struggled with daycare naps, woke crazy early if she went to bed past her bedtime, woke crazy early if she skipped a nap or took a really poor nap the day before. And it could take 3+ days for her to recover from even just one evening out where she went to bed late. Ainsley, on the other hand, she could sleep in if she went to bed later. She could make up for a night with less sleep by taking a longer nap or two longer naps the next day. She napped fairly well at daycare fairly consistently. And she really bounced back from an off night or an off day within about a day. The experience of having a naturally flexible sleeper and a child who wasn't naturally very flexible in the sleep department is night and day. But as I became a sleep coach, I learned how to maximize Addison's flexibility. While I don't think you can determine where your child naturally falls on the sleep flexibility scale, I do think you can absolutely do things to maximize your child's sleep flexibility. So let's talk through three things that will help you both determine how naturally flexible your child is and then maximize that flexibility. First, I want you to figure out your child's ideal sleep schedule. In episode 79, I talked about the freedom of a sleep schedule. Finding your child's ideal sleep schedule allows them to get high quality restorative sleep. Once you know their schedule, naps at daycare and on the go can hopefully happen close to that ideal schedule. The right timing is going to help your child sleep even when conditions aren't ideal. It's going to increase the quality of that sleep and it's going to hopefully help them actually get that sleep. Second, teach your child healthy sleep habits. The number one thing that will set your child up for flexibility success is being well rested. The two biggest factors that play into a child being well rested are a good sleep schedule, which I just talked a little bit about, and solid sleep habits. So, what do I mean by solid sleep habits? I'm talking about you being able to have a nice, short, and sweet bedtime or nap routine, and your child being able to go into their crib or bed awake and put themselves to sleep, and also back to sleep when they wake up. This is important because these good sleep habits help children to more smoothly move through days and nights that are less than optimal. And it's going to help them recover faster if they have an off day or night. So, if you are doing things out and about one day and it does lead to a unexpected middle of the night waking or a non-typical middle of the night waking and your child feeling like not so great because maybe they were overtired, if they have this ability to put themselves back to sleep, it's going to allow them to get back to sleep and continue to get the sleep they need rather than having a more significant wake up. It's also going to help them if they have an off nap where the nap, because the timing wasn't right or they're overtired from the day before, they wake early. If they have that skill set to put themselves back to sleep, then they're going to be able to extend that nap that otherwise may have further driven them getting overtired, which could get us on that hamster wheel of sleep being less than ideal. So now that you've worked to figure out your child's ideal nap schedule and bedtime, and hopefully you've taught your child these solid sleep habits, you should have a well rested child with a full sleep tank. These two steps and being well rested sets your child up to demonstrate their maximum flexibility. This brings me to the third step, which is really determining exactly how flexible your child is. You want to start intentionally experimenting with a well rested child. And ideally, you start by changing one thing. Let's say you do a nap on the go, or you go out to dinner and you put your little one to bed later. Not both of those, just try to do one. How did it go? How did they respond? Was it a non event or did they bounce back quickly? If so, that's great. Then you could start to experiment with what would happen if we were out longer during the day, if we did two naps on the go, or if we did an afternoon nap on the go and a later bedtime. Or what happens if you have a more flexible day more than once a week, or 2 days in a row, a Saturday and a Sunday, or a Friday and a Saturday? What we're looking for here is a tipping point. How much is too much for your child? Maybe one later bedtime each week or one weekend day of naps on the go is fine. But maybe 2 days in a row results in your child getting overtired and struggling with those night wakings or those early morning wakings, or they're just downright cranky. Or maybe your child really struggles to sleep outside of their home environment and they end up being overtired for a few days. And like in Addison's case, it takes them a while to recover, multiple days. So while I don't think you can make your child flexible, keeping them well rested in between these off days or in between these days where you want to be more flexible is what's going to actually set them up to be able to adapt and bounce back as quickly as possible. And I really think knowledge is power. Knowing, or I should say, anticipating how your child will respond and how long it may take them to bounce back is going to help you decide what is worth doing. If you have a sensitive child who really struggles if they go to bed late, you may, for a period of time, be the person who leaves the summer barbecue early so you could get your child to bed on time. Or you may tell your family, no, we can't do that late dinner because so and so, in my case, Addison, really needs to get to bed or it's going to disrupt our entire weekend. Or on the flip side, if there's something you really want to do that's really important to you or to be so fun, and it's going to result in your sensitive child being out late and getting overtired, you're going to go into it with expectations that your child will likely take a few days to fully bounce back. Knowing what to expect also makes it easier to be flexible because it'll make you less anxious or annoyed with how your child responds, and you're going to be better equipped to help them bounce back quickly. What I hope you take away from this episode is that it's hard to determine how flexible your child can be until you have them sleeping well, so that they are well rested and they have good sleep habits, and that sets them up to be a little bit more flexible. And experimenting, once you have this well rested child, and taking some kind of mental notes is going to help you understand your child's flexibility tolerance. And this is going to help you make educated decisions about your family's schedule and the priorities. And for those of you who have a sensitive sleeper who isn't flexible despite doing all the things, I see you. I can relate. And I will tell you that now my sensitive sleeper is 10 years old. And please know that it does get better and more flexible days are in your future, although it might take a few years. Thanks for joining me again today, and I hope you'll come back again next week. If you found this episode helpful, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It would mean the world to me. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to How Long Till Bedtime. To learn how we can work together to improve your child's sleep, please visit sleepandwellnesscoach.com.